Hi everyone, Gianni DePoce here with you for TheoTrade, and today is Tuesday, the 20th of May, 2025, and we're seeing stocks take a bit of a break here on their rally. We did make new highs in both the S&P 500 futures and the NASDAQ 100 futures, but we still have not achieved one of the big signals that I'm looking for in the S&P. I really need to see this overbought reading above 70 on the RSI indicator registered sooner than later. Now, even though stocks are down today, note that the volume bar is still really low. Granted, there still are a couple hours left in the trading session before we close for the day. But once again, last week, we saw technology and especially semiconductors absolutely dominate the tape. That is a very good sign. I cannot stress that enough. We've been talking about it for weeks now. We've been talking about how the leadership from certain sectors in the market typically indicates that a bottom is complete and that a new bull run is beginning. And ever since we took out that high from last, uh, it would have been on the 25th of March, we took it out last Monday. My tone has been explicitly bullish. I was cautiously optimistic coming out of this secondary higher low back in late April and increasing my degree of bullishness along the way, noting the sector leadership. But now we have technology as the best performing sector on a 1 week basis and on a 1 month basis. But perhaps the biggest development at a sector based level over the last week was industrials, XLI, assuming leadership on a year to date basis, overtaking utilities, which remember, when utilities are outperforming, and they are today to be clear, but it's just one day. When utilities are outperforming across various time frames, it signals that money is seeking safety in this more defensive area of the market. But that's not happening right now. And even over the past year, the past 12 months, we have seen communications, XLC, which has a technological tilt to it, a lot of internet name, streaming services, internet, etc., assume leadership on the 1 year time frame. So these are all very positive signals coming up. Now, next week, I do have my eyes set on NVIDIA's earnings. That's going to be next Wednesday. And if we get a big move here on NVIDIA, I was talking about this in the live room today with members. I do have an upside target in NVIDIA without a position currently, but I am watching this because the setup is starting to build out. I wouldn't be surprised to see NVIDIA at 230, NVIDIA above 200. Yes, I think NVIDIA could rally another $95 higher from here. I'm bullish, and especially because semiconductors are showing that leadership, and we have taken some positions in this space. We have Broadcom that's been working pretty well for us. American Superconductor doing the right things. This one has earnings tomorrow, and so the more that we see these chip names outperform and emerge from these bottoming patterns, the greater the odds become that we're going to see new all-time highs in stocks sooner than later. Okay. Now, one of the things too is we're in the month of May. There's only about 11 days left in the month. On Monday, we are going to be closed for the Memorial Day holiday. But I'm sure you've heard the saying, sell in May and go away. And I've been talking about this, how I don't think that applies so much anymore. And especially if you look over the last 10 years, there's only been one or two times where stocks have closed lower in the month of May. So I have taken the liberty to rename that phrase into buy in May and stay. Buy in May and stay, especially if we had a massive cyclical reset, okay, that was just complete in April, which the weight of the evidence supports. We've had a great tech reset, which I'm going to be doing a much deeper dive into that discussion on the great tech reset on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Okay. The upside is substantial. There's a lot of gains to be had. And, I'm talking about individual sectors. I'm looking at some individual, semiconductor names. But as I scour the tech sector, there are so many setups I see, so many stocks that are about to break out of massive bases. I mean, even take a look at what's happening in quantum today. QTUM. You're about to close at its highest daily level in history. If it closes above 86.48 today, it's currently above that now with a couple hours left before the close. This is huge, guys. This is huge. This theme is not going away. Palantir is a big holding in that. We do have positions open in Palantir, but you can look at some other names like D-Wave Quantum up over 30% today. You have Rigetti Computing, which is kind of spinning its wheels near its recent highs here. IonQ slightly in positive territory. These, these last two are names that are open currently in the Trinity trade, but there's also some other ones making a move, like this Arcit Quantum name, which especially has my attention because this is a quantum stock that has affairs tied into the quantum security industry. Because remember, quantum computing, a new technology, could change the way we look at cybersecurity because these computers are so fast, they'll be able to break the code in so many computers that we have today. So that also opens up a new frontier for quantum style defense. Very exciting times in which we live. And even the AI stuff isn't over yet, guys. So it's like this new world that we're coming into. And I wonder if Tesla's going to get into it at some point. They're kind of spearheading the AI and robotics, and at some point, they're going to be looking at that kind of stuff. I'm sure the technology has Elon's attention, but Tesla up a cool 3% on the day. That's looking good. Google CEO Sundar Pichai recently said that in an interview that quantum is where AI was in 2015 today. So that is where the opportunity lies. And with their Willow chip, they're invested in this space too. It's something to keep an eye on. Now, the big player in this space, I think, is IBM. Okay, International Business Machines at new all-time highs today. Back in my brokerage days, we used to call this International Boring Machines because the stock did nothing for almost a decade. But it's definitely awake now. The stock is making higher highs and higher lows. It looks very strong, and it is not something that should be ignored. So we continue to see more and more strength, more and more tech themes emerging. Again, indicative that stocks are in the early stages of a new bull market. In other areas of the financial world, we see gold and silver catching a strong bid. I'm especially interested in what's happening here in silver because I do think that we're about to break out. So some names we talked about in the live room today include Pan American Silver, as well as Barrick Gold. Barrick Gold is no longer under the ticker symbol GOLD. It's now under B. So we're seeing some nice follow through off higher lows in that space. It looks strong, but you can even look at the ETFs. You have silver miners outperforming gold miners. It looks really strong. Good broad participation in the space. You're seeing leadership come from silver. That's what you want to see in a percentage basis. So I like what's happening there. Take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin trying to close at one of its highest daily levels in futures history. In fact, today we're going for we're close to our second or third highest daily close in history. If we close above 107,225 today, highest daily close in history. If we close above 106,985, which we're not far from now, second highest daily close in history. So that looks strong. Ethereum also off the lows. I think we're in the process of forming a higher low. I think there's a lot of gains to be had on the table for Ethereum, and the probability, the chances, the odds of an altcoin season starting is higher. Is higher now that Ethereum is starting to participate. So we've been participating in this a few different ways. Coinbase, $1 Million Challenge holding, MicroStrategy, Trinity trade name. These all look like they're ready to rip again. So this market is not going to sit back and wait for all the headlines to become bullish again. No, the market's going to storm higher and embarrass those that keep parroting all the doom and gloom. Okay. I understand that we're seeing some names that are, high beta and, not really the best earnings ripping, but that's the nature of a market that's starting a new cycle. And sometimes you even see that toward the end. So I do want to be clear on that. But based on the model that I'm using and where we're seeing leadership from, I do think we're in a new bull market. And you take a look at bonds here. I'm still watching a setup for a potential bottom. We may have had the low in 30-year bonds on Monday and in the 10-year note mid last week. So I think that looks pretty good as well. And I think that if bonds starts rallying, rates start to come down, definitely a contrarian position right now. It would be even more wind in the sails of the tech sector. So that's what I have right now, guys. Great tech reset coming to you on Thursday at 2 p.m. Come check it out. And right now, we're just focusing on what's working, and there's a lot working. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the TheoTrade chat room.